Hey everybody, it's Brooke with the Butter at Home and welcome to my messy kitchen. Today we have a very special slow cooker recipe for you. This is one of my favorites to show you how you can eat probably light and not even realize it. This is our version of slow cooker orange chicken. And yes, it is all of the above. It's chicken that's been infused with orange, with rosemary, with butter and onion, all wrapped up. This is a good one that you can pop in the crock pot in the morning before you go out to tackle your day, whether that be at work or to keep your kids or grandkids, whatever you need to do. And when you come home in 8 to 10 hours, it'll be ready for you. So I commute to work 40 minutes one way. So in the mornings, I leave home at 7 and I don't get home until almost 6 p.m. This is one of my favorite crock pot recipes to do because it's ready when I get here. So, you know, a lot of crock pot recipes are 6 to 8 hours on low, and if you don't have somebody who can turn your crock pot off or check on things, which is my case most of the time during the work week, then you can kind of be in a pinch. Now, I do have a crock pot that will turn itself off, so that's good if Danny forgets to check it for me. But usually when he comes in from work and smells the wonderful smells in the house, he's over here checking one way or the other. So, but this is a good long crock pot recipe to accommodate those of us who maybe are gone for more than just 8 hours a day. It's also a really great weekend recipe that you could do overnight, like on Saturday night, and have for Sunday lunch. So let me stop talking and let's get cooking. So hang tight with me and we're going to show you how to put it all together. Okay, so I have the liner of my crock pot ready to go. And then I have 2 oranges here that I have halved and then quartered. This makes them a little easier to peel, and I'm going to show you a little more about that in just a minute. Then we have 1 whole red onion that we have also peeled and quartered. We have 4 sprigs of rosemary, and we're going to divide this up over the course of the recipe. A whole head of garlic, some smoked paprika, some pink salt, or you can use regular salt, some pepper, and these are just to get us started. So you want to prep everything first, and you want to cut and quarter and peel your 2 oranges, and I'm just using simple navel oranges for this. You can also leave the peel on them if you want to. I just find that peeling them, the ones that go in the bottom of the crock pot anyway, tend to release a lot more juice a little more naturally. So we're going to split the difference, and we're going to peel one, and then we're going to leave the rind on another. Okay, so to the liner of our crock pot, we're going to add 3 cups of low sodium chicken broth, and I'm just going to measure that out right quick. And splash it everywhere. It went everywhere. Okay, so we have 3 cups of low sodium chicken broth going in the liner of our crock pot. And then to that, we're going to add our orange slices from one of the 2 oranges that we're using in here. Then we are going to put the onion slices in the bottom as well. Now you can reserve some of that onion if you want to for what we're going to do with the rest of these oranges and the garlic, but you certainly don't have to. Now we're going to make a compound butter, and this is fun. Okay, this is always fun. So I have a stick of butter that's room temperature, and I'm just gonna use 3 tablespoons of that and put it into a bowl. And this compound butter is, y'all, you just wait. We're gonna put this under the skin of the chicken, as well as spread it all over the top so that it helps make that beautiful color on the chicken. And it's, oh gosh, it's just, it adds a whole new level of delicious to what we're about to do. Okay, so we have 3 tablespoons of softened butter, and then I'm going to take 2 of my rosemary sprigs and just kind of dice those up. And I'm using fresh rosemary because I have a huge rosemary bush. Really, it's almost a tree in my yard, and I've had it for years and years. So I'm just stripping that rosemary right off the stem and discarding the stem. And then I'm going to put it all into a nice little ball and just run my knife through it. Now, if you're going to use dried rosemary, you're going to want to use about half of this. So maybe like 1 tablespoon of dried rosemary. Dried herbs tend to be much stronger than fresh herbs. All right, so we just want to give that a nice rough little chop just to kind of, you won't have any big bits of rosemary that you bite into. And that's real simple. So we're going to place that into our compound butter mixture. Then we are going to put in about a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to use about a half a teaspoon of this pink salt because it goes a little bit farther. And then about a half a teaspoon of cracked black pepper, because this is where a lot of our flavor is going to be. So you want to make sure that you get as much of your seasonings in here as you can. I'm just going to try to start to mash that together. I probably should have gotten a bigger spoon. And prepare to get your fingers dirty. But we want to get the herbs kind of mashed into that butter so that they can start to release their oils into the butter, and the oils from the herbs will just mix with that butter. Now to this, we are going to add, let's see, how much marmalade? 1/4 cup of orange marmalade. And I like to use the sugar-free. That makes a big difference in this recipe. Now when we add the orange marmalade to the butter, that's gonna loosen things up. Meanwhile, I've got a whole roasting chicken over here that has come to room temperature. So if you buy your chicken ahead of time, I always like to let mine sit out for about 30 minutes just to come to room temperature. That way when you put it in the crock pot, it's not cold, and it doesn't have to like come to, like, it's extra work for the crock pot, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and I can't get it out real well. So we have our beautiful bird right here, and then we are going to simply just salt and pepper, give them a good pat to get that salt in there. That chicken, and don't worry, I clean my salt and my pepper grinder whenever I'm done. No cross-contamination in here. I love Clorox or Lysol wipes, and I use a lot of them to kind of clean up my everyday things. So we just want to pat that pepper on there just like we did the salt. And that's kind of giving him a good little massage anyway. Now I have also got a towel that I don't plan to use for anything else over here, so I can kind of wash off my, or not wash off, but dry my hands. I failed to mention that this chicken, before I started, I rinsed him real good and dried him with some paper towels. So you want to make sure you start with a good chicken so that your herbs and all can kind of adhere to the chicken. Now, this is kind of the, well, it's not tricky. I won't say it's tricky, but we're going to start with what we put in the cavity first. So I'm going to take my 2 whole sprigs of rosemary and I'm going to place those into the cavity of the chicken. Then I'm going to place in that whole head of garlic, and what I may do first, just to release some of that aromatics, is just take the whole head and put the stem side down, then take my knife and then just pop it, just like that. That'll help, it also will cause some of those bulbs to release, and we're gonna place that into the cavity of the chicken as well. Then I'm going to take my other whole orange and get as much of it in there as I can. Depending on the size of your chicken, this is about a 3-pound chicken. A 3 to a 4 pound usually fits nicely in my oval crock pot, but I can get the whole thing in there, and I always put the orange in last so that it kind of seals things up. Now you could take this a step further and tie all that up, but we're not going to. We're just not. I'm invested in this recipe, but not that invested. Okay, so at the neck of the chicken, you will be able to fit your fingers underneath the skin, okay? And then I always take one finger and kind of poke it as far as I can down the side of the spine. And I do that on both sides. Then on the tail of the chicken, you can do the same thing. And if it's attached like that, if you take a small knife and carefully just cut into the skin, just like that, you can get things started and just run your finger up through the back there. Now the back side is a little more tenuous and a little harder, so I always have to use my knife to kind of help things along to get in there. But see how my finger is down there by the thighs? So that way we can get some of this nice rub in there. So I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna just pick up just a little bit of that butter and marmalade and just run it under the skin. And then you can take your hand on the outside and kind of spread it around. We're going to do the same thing over here. And I like to do it around the thigh because that's the meat that we're going to be eating. And then I take a little and I do it along the back side. Just like that, where I ran my fingers through. Now I take a little bit of that, just a little bit more than I put in the cavity, and I'm just going to let the warmth of my hand help melt that butter and spread it all around the top. Okay, and we give him a little pat, and then we're going to turn him over and replace the orange slice that we lost. Now on the breast side, you'll notice that you can do the same thing. The skin naturally tends to want to separate along the breast, and you can just put your finger in there and open up that cavity a bit more. You can also do that on the legs as well. Maybe I should have tied this guy up. He's got kind of a heavy end on him. But you can also come down and get in between those legs, and if you wanted to, you could use your knife and open up the skin area on the leg and do the same thing. The leg is like the thigh, it's dark meat, and we've already got that on the other side, so I tend to just kind of leave that alone. But now I'm going to come to the neck of the bird and do the same thing to kind of meet where my other finger was and open up that breast cavity. And if this kind of thing grosses you out, then just come to my house and eat it and let me prepare it for you, because I don't love raw meat, but this doesn't bother me for some reason. I guess because I've eaten this and I know the end result. All right, so now we're going to go in with that compound butter. on each end, and I had a big like chunk of it right there. So I just went in here and put it in because I've already opened that skin area up. So I can spread it around in there and get it where I want it from both sides. I'll put a little bit more over here. Then we're going to take the remainder of our marmalade and butter mixture and do the same thing and rub him down all on the outside. Then we're going to place him. There we go. Let me try to get that all covered up right there so everything doesn't fall out. Now we're going to place him breast side up on top of those orange slices and those onion slices in the liner of the crock pot. And if you lost any of that compound butter, just shove it in somewhere. It's all going to cook down. This has got an 8 to 10 hour cook time. All right, let me wash my hands. Safety first. So we've just handled a lot of raw chicken. We've handled a lot of raw chicken for a long time. So I'm probably going to wash my hands like a surgeon would, probably twice. And that butter and all that mixture was kind of greasy. So I tend to use some dishwashing liquid the first time. And then I'll follow it up with some antibacterial soap. Then I also use my salt grinder, take my salt grinder and my pepper grinder, and I will move them away from my work surface because I'm also going to sanitize my work surface. So the pepper grinder and salt grinder, I've got in a paper towel, and I'm going to move them to the side so that I can clean those up a little later. Now, he's so pretty, but he needs just a little bit more. And we're going to dress him with this smoked paprika. And the reason why I like to do this and not on the compound butter part is because this helps get that roasting chicken color that we like. So now I'm going to place it into my crock pot, put the lid on, and cook it on low for 8 to 10 hours. But for you, that'll be about maybe 30 seconds. So stay with us, we'll be right back. Hey everybody, we are back. We have finished actually an 8-hour cook time in our crock pot, and I used my meat thermometer to test it, and as long as it's 165 degrees, you're golden. So I've dressed him up all pretty, and we have some little fronds of rosemary, which Big D or Danny loves. He does not love rosemary. But if you're serving this, I just wanted to show, I took out some of the cooked onion and the cooked orange, and you could totally take that cooked orange, and it's still really hot, so I'm probably going to just drop it. And once it cools, like, you could take those out first and just squeeze that juice over the top of the chicken. You can also take out what's inside if you wanted to, or you can just cut it like we're gonna do. But would you just look how pretty that is? I mean, what a beautiful presentation. And the chicken, because it was slow cooked, is falling apart. So be careful when you take it out of the crock pot, and do allow it to rest for probably about 10 to 15 minutes. But once you do that, and look, all my rosemary is falling off. But once you do that, you can pull the chicken apart because it's already coming apart. Like, here's a leg right here. And look, the bone just came right out of it. But you can scoop that out and serve it just like that. Or you can slice it. I like to take it and just slice that breast meat right off of the bone. And I have to show you this because this is gorgeous. This is evidence. You see, there is some of the remnants of the butter, the infused butter that we put on there, still on the surface of the chicken itself, even coming out of the skin. So it's just beautiful. You can serve this, you can be as fancy as you want to, or you can be as plain Jane as you want to. But I like to just get an extra orange when I'm being all fancy and put it on there, or put it on the platter, and then you can serve it. That way people can squeeze it over the top. It's perfect. It's just perfect. And the chicken is just, I mean, it's just falling apart. It's so tender. Oh, wow. And just all those flavors. The rosemary, unlike what Danny would think, is not overpowering. It adds an earthiness and a balance to all the sweet components that we put in it, being the oranges and the orange marmalade. But those acidic properties are one of the things that makes the chicken so tender. That, and we slow cooked it in the crock pot. But this is a perfect illustration of how you can take something that could just be a ho-hum dish, like chicken sometimes can be, and like really just amp it up and make it something special. And that's what we've done here tonight. And this is perfect to have as a weeknight meal or a special meal on the weekends. This would be a good thing to do on Saturday night for Sunday lunch, because this whole chicken, it goes a long way. And the flavors that we added, this is just a starting point. Think of other herbs or other citrus fruits that you could use, and it becomes something new and different entirely. You could also take wings and thighs and legs and do this same method in the crock pot and not have the whole chicken. So there's just no end to what you can do. This is one of those recipes that we like to share with you that shows you how to get your wheels turning and thinking about what you're cooking, so that, you know, supper on Tuesday night can be something a little fancy pants every once in a while. So we hope that you try this recipe and you like it as much as we do. As always, it and all of our other recipes can be found over at thebutteredhome.com. We're real proud of our website. We've been doing this for 4 years, y'all. And our website's come a long way, just like our videos have come a long way. My kitchen has come a long way. I like to look back and look at some of our older videos, because for a long time we just did lives. And those can be a little chaotic, but they're out there. They're on our YouTube channel. And you can find them on all of our social channels too. So if you're not following us already on those, be sure that you do. And speaking of YouTube, head over there, and if you haven't already, and search for The Buttered Home, and then hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified when we drop new videos like this one. There's something to be said for the world of video. We get overrun, and there's all kind of things that you can watch, and you can spend your days watching video on the internet, the interwebs, if you want to. But you know, there's nothing that replaces good old-fashioned cooking videos, and I hope that you enjoy what we're doing with that here, because it's really important to me. When I was in college, I wanted to be a teacher, but I quickly found out that I was kind of not equipped for that, to be responsible for other people's children. But this is a creative way, and has been for 4 years, of me to be able to do that, to teach in some small way. Plus, the teacher is also the student. I've learned a lot in 4 years about a website and web design, and there's so much that goes into what we do here, and we've shown y'all a little bit of that behind the scenes this month, and we hope that you've enjoyed it. Because it is so much more than just setting my phone up and taking a video. There's so much more involved in what we do here, and I think it's an art in a way, just like cooking is. So like I said, the teacher has also been the student, and I've learned a lot in 4 years, and I've been very happy to have shared that with all of you, and I hope to continue to do so. And it's because of wonderful fans like you all that allow me to do this and to keep doing this. It just really, it fills my cup. And so I appreciate you. But anyway, we hope you try this and you like it, and be back next week. We have got a fantastic, light and delicious dessert. You don't want to miss it. So from the butter at home to your home, we love you guys. Bye.